Now that we've implemented a system that tests if tiles exist, if they don't, it hides our buttons, and if they do, it leaves our buttons available to the user, we need to implement the logic so that when users do tap on valid buttons, we're able to navigate to new tiles. Let's go ahead and scroll down, and we're going to be updating our IB actions, specifically the north, west, south, and east buttons. So let's go ahead and add returns here, and just make this a little bit easier for us to add some code inside of it. And we'll add one more for south here, or east, excuse me. And we're going to be writing our code first in the north button. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to update our current point. Our current point is this property we added, so if we look at our header file really quickly, we're going to see that we have a current point. And if I press the north button, I want to change my current point so that my view controller class still knows where it currently is. So I can say self.currentPoint is equal to cgPointMake, and we can say self.currentPoint.x, and then we'll say self.currentPoint.y plus 1. We're going north, so we're going to add 1 to our y, and I can go ahead and add a semicolon. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to call our method updateButtons, because now that I'm at the tile one up, or I've moved one up in my current point, I want to re-hide all of the tiles that aren't possible, and I also want to unhide any tiles that have become possible that I previously had hidden. I also am going to call self update tile because I want to now update the information with the current tile. And update tile, if we take a look at our method again, goes ahead and based on our current point, right? So self.currentPoint, it updates the tile model object here and the variable that points to it. And we go ahead and we update our story text with the new tile model's information. So by having this three-step process, we see now why we had to separate this logic of update tile into its own method, because now we're very simply able to update our view. So let's go ahead and update our west button. So we're going to again write self.currentPoint, and we're going to create a new point because we're going to moving west now. So we're going to do self.currentPoint.x, and we're going to subtract 1 since we're going west. Now we can do self.currentPoint.y and add a semicolon. Just like before, we're going to have to update our buttons and update our tile. And I can go ahead and copy this code here, and we're going to do the same thing for south and east. I'm just going to quickly adjust my logic here because we're not going to subtract 1 if we're going south. We'll subtract 1 from y instead, and if we're going east, we'll add 1 instead of subtracting 1 from the x value. So let's go ahead and run our application, and what we should see are 4 columns and 3 rows. So let's first prove the number of rows. So if we go north, we're going to start on story 1, and now we're at story 2, and finally we'll be on story 3, and we see that we can no longer go north. We can also navigate back down south, and that fits with the number of rows we said we'd have, which was 3. We also know that we should have 4 columns, so if we start at here, we're in column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. And I see that now I can navigate through my application as I wish, and that my buttons are properly hiding when they need to, and that we also see that my story number is updating properly.